At SHECAN, we tell women's stories. We interview women from all over the world on all walks of life and show their journeys, how they got to where they are today. And I'm really excited to talk to Carolina Bucci today. Carolina, welcome to SHECAN. I have so many friends that are friends with you, so it's so lovely to connect. You're a Florentine fine jewelry company with the same name, Carolina Bucci. You make inspiring, distinctive jewelry designed with reverence for craftsmanship and executed with elegance. And you have stores in London and in Florence. And so tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you for having me, first of all. I think my story comes from starts from when I was a teenager. So, well, before that, obviously, but I was born and raised in Florence in a family of jewelers. So I am fourth generation, and that's what I knew. Though as a teenager, I was slightly frustrated because I wanted to wear fun jewelry that my friends were wearing, but my parents said, no, you're a daughter of a jeweler, you have to wear all these beautiful real things. And I found them boring. And that's really how I decided, in a way, without realizing it, what I would do as a grown-up and for the rest of my life. I wanted to prove that fine jewelry could be fun. And so I started designing pieces for myself that were true to the codes of my family heritage, so made in fine materials in our workshops with traditional techniques, but the use and the spirit and the attitude was definitely more irreverent and more fun. And that's what I still do today.
Carolina, and I love that fourth generation and you're making it your own. Tell us a little bit more about the process. How do you come up with the ideas? How does it work from sort of idea to the point where you produce them, the craftsmanship, and then how do you market it?
So it all starts with a dream. It all starts with an image of a piece that I very selfishly dream up for myself. And then I have to work backwards, and then I have to work out how is it possible to make this piece real, and then I have to work out the techniques. So in some cases the techniques don't exist, and so we come up with the tools, and it's a lot of experimentation, but it all really starts with something I dream of and something that I would like to make and have for myself. And that is how I started it from the beginning. So again, as a little girl, going to my father and saying, can I transform this piece into da 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 da? And my father would eventually send me away and say, go and make me a sketch and come back and present to me. And then, it took well, 3 or 4 rounds probably of that being bounced back. And then eventually when my idea was deemed good enough, then I would be sat with a jeweler to see if it was possible to make. So that teaching and that training that I had from an early age is still what I do today. And so I have a very close relationship with my jewelers and my workshops in Florence. And it's very much about collaborating and putting brains together. And I know what I want to achieve, but I'm not alone in this process. And then from there, I was actually having this conversation with someone today. We just launched, this is one of my new pieces that we just launched. And somebody said, do you get nervous about when you launch something, if people are going to like it? And not really. I think is the honest answer, because I think I love it. So as long as I'm creating something that I really love, I've achieved that goal of making that piece that I dreamt of. And then luckily other people like it too. So no, I think I get more the process, and I get more again in the bumps along the way in the production of that piece. So for example, my collection that has taken the longest took me 3 years to make from beginning to end. And they were frustrating times because it wasn't just right. And I will keep going until it is just right. And that's what I think gives me the satisfaction in the end when it is right. But at the same time, I have lots of ideas at the same time. I work on different pieces at the same time, and I never know, they're all in the oven, and I never know which one will be ready sooner. So it's also, I've learned to be very relaxed about it, because when it's right, it's right.
I love that, Carolina. You seem to have a real flow of how it works. So what would you say is your main motivator in all, in all the collections that you bring to us now?
Each collection, and that's been true, is inspired by my life, or not necessarily. Well, it could be an occasion or a moment in my life. Could be a trip. It could be the birth of my first son. It could be anything. It's really about a state of a feeling and a moment. So when I look at my collections, it's a bit like looking at a photo album for me. So I know each collection when I designed it, not because I remember the year, but because I remember it gives me a feeling. I know what I was feeling at that time. And that's when that collection was created and came to life. And so for me, that's really the main drive. It's about making memories, and I'm making pieces that are beautiful and special and precious, but ultimately they're my story. And
Yeah,
then what I love even more is that when customers buy those pieces take a whole new story for them, because then they commemorate a moment, an occasion, an event, a love, a sadness, whatever. And I think that's what jewelry should be, at
yeah,
least.
beautiful. I love that. All about storytelling. Carolina, so what do you think are your top qualities? What are the qualities that you have or acquired that really serve you every day?
Uh, I think my top quality is instinct, for sure. I and not being afraid of acting on it. So if I feel that it's the right direction, even if I have sometimes voices that tell me maybe don't, or advice, I'm a Scorpio. So I'm pretty strong-headed, and so I think that can come on strongly, but I think overall, I think it's a quality.
Yeah. And you must be very creative.
A little bit.
Carolina, so give us some top tips. We talked about this earlier. You're definitely someone who goes instinct first, even though reason sometimes, would tell you otherwise. You go with your gut. So give us some tips that you have for people on making decision-making processes easier.
Well, I definitely believe in doing your homework. And so, yes, I do act on instinct, but I think that instinct comes from also a confidence and a knowledge that I have built over time. So I'm not just stubborn and that's it. And what my favorite word, in fact, is an Italian word, which is sprezzatura, which means the art of effortlessness. And that really represents for me a way of life and my company, my jewelry. And to me, it's for something to appear effortless, you know exactly what you're doing, because you own it. You have done it so many times. And so when you go and do it, it looks effortless from the outside, and it feels effortless, but because you're a pro, you're a master, you nailed it. And I think that's, for me, the best way to be. It's not just to wing it. That's fun sometimes and exciting, and sometimes it works out, but that's not my motto. My motto is practice, 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 practice until it becomes second nature. And so doing your research, doing your homework, and really becoming a pro, and in whatever you're doing, do it really well and do it at the best that you can, and then really follow your instinct, because ultimately that's, and no regrets. I think that's the other side of it, because I think the most sad part of life could be thinking, oh, I wish I had done that, or I wish I could. And I think there's no downside. You already have a no. if you don't try. So
Yeah.
it's go for it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I
I
guess
think.
my other, I don't know, another way I think is don't ask, don't get. Uh, so, you know, you never know. But, and I think that that marks how I started my business. And nobody handed me a little book with all the answers. I figured it all out by myself, by putting myself out there, and I got a lot of no's, but then the yeses are earned. And that's what I try and teach my children, and that's what I advise anybody who wants that advice.
Yeah. So, what would you say are your biggest achievements to date? What are you most proud of?
Um, my sons, first and foremost. They're definitely my best creations, but they definitely take a direction of their own, which is amazing and fascinating to watch. But I think in terms of jewelry, I think it's preserving my family business, but in my own way. And so preserving traditions, which is what I come from, and respecting that heritage and the history and all of that mastery that has come before me, but making it evolve, because I think evolution is an important part of it. So I represent evolution, and then creating all my different collections that are different, but they all somehow work under the Carolina Bucci aesthetic umbrella. And so my biggest satisfaction when I feel like job done is when I see someone, well, clearly when I see people who I don't know wearing my pieces, so they've chosen to buy my pieces. And but mainly is if you see a piece of my jewelry and you don't see the box and you don't see the signature and you can tell it's a Carolina Bucci, that's when I feel at most accomplished, because I think there's an aesthetic that speaks without the obvious signatures or packaging, and I think that's what I'm most proud of, because I think today there's a lot of pollution and a lot of duplication. And I believe that whether you're an artist, a jeweler, a furniture designer, a writer, whatever your skill is, a baker, it doesn't matter. You need to have your identity and your recognizable traits. And I think hopefully that's what I have. I have my thread that connects everything without all looking exactly the same.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Carolina, I saw that you do wish workshops. Tell us a little bit about that. I love that.
So that was really fun. I did it it was before Christmas last year. And my first collection that I ever launched, which we celebrated the 20th anniversary of last year, is my Lucky collection. So they're bracelets that are inspired by the friendship bracelets that I used to make on the beach in Italy with my sister and my friends, and used to double knot, make a wish, and then if I still see you next summer, you still have it on, we're still friends or not. So I created a luxury version, a precious version of that bracelet. And really, it was also launched at a time when emotional jewelry didn't exist. And I was proposing essentially a precious piece of string woven with 18 karat gold threads and chains, and each color was paired with a different shape charm. So the red one has a love charm, which is a heart, and the pink one has a flower, which is friendship. So I have all these different meanings, and you're meant to put them on again, double knot, make a wish. The wish always comes true. And for me, obviously, that piece of jewelry has been the basis of my business. They took a life of their own when Sarah Jessica Parker wore them in the last series of Sex and the City, and this was pre-social media, pre-e-commerce, and all of a sudden they just exploded while I was still doing this from my apartment in New York, but selling to 20 Neiman Marcus stores across the country. So I think through the years that has been my beginning, and really the moment when I thought, oh, this actually could be a business. I think that was my light bulb moment. It wasn't just for people that I knew. But ultimately what I really treasure and what is really important for me is the emotional side. like I said before, I make pieces that represent to capture an emotion that I'm feeling. And then when somebody buys them, they create a different emotion for them. And so last year we created this workshop, which was across the street from our store, where clients or anybody really could walk in. And my aim was to cover the whole entire, all the four walls of the store in wishes. So it's about energy. It's also about just putting it out there. You know, some people call it manifesting, some people call it, so it costs nothing. And we had our cards with all the different charms drawn out on the different things. So you could choose if you wanted the travel, the love, or the health, or the protection. And then you just wrote a wish for you, for someone. And then I think I loved the spirit of it, but I loved that quite quickly, because we were only open for a few weeks. Quite quickly, we had no more space on the walls, and people, and then again, some people kept coming back. We had a little girl who every Friday after school, that's what she wanted to do. So she begged her mother to come every Friday. She came and she took her time and she made wishes for her friends, for all different loved ones. And it just created a really special atmosphere where, of course, I have a commercial business, but this was not about that. It was about communicating that emotion, that meaning, that which is what started my business. So I think that was something that I truly enjoyed. I think everybody loved it. And at the end, we chose one wish to make come true. It wasn't necessarily the best or the strongest. Sometimes you got to choose. So somebody's wish was to bring their little boy to Disneyland and meet his hero. And we did that. They actually just came back a couple of weeks ago from their trip to Disneyland. So it's very powerful. Wishing is powerful. And also I think it helps you believe in it more. And I guess, another way of seeing things is also, I guess, we overthink things too much sometimes. So I think my view is, you dream of something, stop talking about it, just do it. Stop planning, just get on with it. So the wish is also a representation of that. It's also sometimes pushes people.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, Carolina. So give us your plans and goals for the next couple of years.
So well, it only took me 20 years to open a store in my hometown in Florence, which we finally opened last summer. But as you know, Florence moves pretty slowly. So the business that was there before had been there for 100 years. So, and we just wanted to find the perfect location. So that is something that I scratched off my list last year. Last year was very busy. The last few months have been busy. We opened 2 in-store boutiques in the States. So one in Palm Beach, one in Carmel. Again, slightly not obvious destinations, but destinations that feel right to me and right to, again, like I was talking about before, a way of being and a mindset, and not just being in just the busy cities or lifestyle. So that's been exciting, because we went from 1 store to 4 in 9 months. We have a little bit more of that coming. So, what I should say is that I started in wholesale, so selling, like I said, to Bergdorf and Neiman and Harrods and so on, all over the world. We have been rolling that back for many years, because for me, what I was losing was the customer experience. And what I wanted I spent too much time and effort and designing not just the jewelry, but the packaging, the stories, the experience, the advice on how to wear, how to clean it, how to style it. And as we put more distance between us and the client, we were losing that. And so then I wasn't happy with that. So that's why we changed our plans, and so more direct to consumer. So we have, in the next couple of weeks, actually, we are opening our presence in another slightly more unusual location in the Maldives. So again, you will be, I guess, at your most relaxed, hopefully, when you're in the Maldives. And that's when you also make memories, and you have time. Because I think shopping also has become a task and a job and something that requires. And so anyway, so that's imminent in our, and then after that we have a few more of these in-store boutiques. Next, we're looking for our permanent home in a store in Paris also. And then eventually something in the States. So that's kind of the next few years, I think, are busy in firming up other Carolina Bucci presences, but where we are directly present. So that's in terms of, well, that's busy.
Definitely busy.
That is busy. Collection wise, there are plenty, like I said before, plenty of collections are in the making, and I still don't know which one will come up first. But there's a lot happening and a lot in the works with different techniques and different tools, and again, always pushing my craft, and that's always the drive for me. It's always about, so even this collection, we're using enamel to achieve the color that I cannot achieve in real stones, and so on. It's always trying to improve the collection. Before it was about making gold elastic, so it's something that gold is definitely not. But the way we work the metal, we make it stretchy, and so it's always about pushing our craft, because it's all about craft really, but further. And I believe in always improving ourselves. I get criticized quite a bit, I think, mainly from my team. I don't celebrate enough the wins and what we achieve, and I'm looking at all the things that we could do better. And yes, I understand, but that is also my way. I do that to myself. I think the wins and the achievements are what we set out to do. So I think that I'm happy we did that, but that was the plan. But I believe there's always a way of improving ourselves, our environment, our society, our communications, and our craft. So that is definitely the goal that I've had from before, that continues to roll on. And then as a mother, I think that's what I need to teach them. I just half an hour ago, I was telling my son that, children, I believe, should be the improved version of their parents, because they have all the knowledge from before and they can see where we could have done better. And it's not to put pressure, but I strive for that. I think it should be an exciting opportunity to be better. We know more, so we can do better. So I think that's the goal, I would say.
Amazing, Carolina. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I love your story. I love that you have started something in jewelry making and fine jewelry making 20 years ago that I think now is just coming up now, to have those feelings and that storytelling aspect to jewelry. So I think you're a real visionary, and I'm very grateful for you to take the time to tell your inspiring story.
Well, I'm very honored that you wanted me. So, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope it inspires other people to do better, better than me.